Hello and welcome to today's video. I am super excited because it is my first book related video that I am filming, and it's also been like 2 years since I have uploaded a video. So I am sorry about that, but hopefully I am back for good this time. I'm going to try to upload very consistently. And yeah, let's just get started with today's video. As you guys saw from the title, today is going to be my June monthly reading wrap-up video. I have all my books in this Amazon box. I think I read 12 books. Don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure I read 12. I think I deserve a pat on the back for that. We are going to get started with the first book I read, and then we will slowly progress to the last book that I read this month. Okay, the first book I read this month is The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. I apologize if I butcher any of these authors' names. I know I'm going to, but this book, 5 stars. So good. The first 20 pages, I will admit, are kind of cringe, but once you get past that, so good. I swear, I was on page like 40 and I was obsessed. I was like, literally, I think I said out loud, I love this book. This might be my new favorite book. I can't even tell you why. It just made me feel things. It made me feel a type of way. I don't know if it's her writing. It's the only book I've read by her. Obsessed. It is a very slow burn book. If you don't like that, then you will not like this book. Especially because it's like 400 pages, just over 400 pages. Okay, so this book is about Catalina, who desperately needs a date to her sister's wedding back home in Spain, which is where Aaron Blackford enters, and they work together, kind of hate each other, and basically she ends up bringing him. It's forced proximity, it's fake dating, workplace romance. Very, 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 very good book. I highly recommend. Okay, after that book, I read The Fear by Natasha Preston. Natasha Preston, I could go on and on about her. She is such an underrated author. If you have not read one of her books, go read one of them. Okay, I highly recommend The Cellar, because that book I read like 7 years ago, almost 8 probably. And I still think about that book to this day. I have dreams about that book. It will always be my favorite book ever. But yeah, no, all of her books, they're just good. They're just good reads. Like, you know that you can't go wrong with it. So, I mean, I did rate this book 3 stars out of 5, only because it wasn't anything special. It wasn't one of my favorite of her books. This book was about this small little town where a meme is going around and you're supposed to repost it with your biggest fear. So everybody starts to repost this meme with their biggest fear, and then suddenly people are being killed that way. They're being killed like by their biggest fear. So if their biggest fear was being stabbed, let's say, then that would be how that person is killed. And Izzy is the main character. She knows it's not a joke from the very beginning when everybody's reposting it. And she basically wants to get to the bottom of it and figure out what the heck is going on. So it was a good book. Nothing crazy, nothing super special. I did appreciate, because all of the chapters are from Izzy's point of view, and then there are a few that are from the Fear's point of view, which is basically like the murderer. And I really did like that she did that. So, I apologize. I know I am all over the place. It's kind of a mess. But it's so hard to talk about books, especially without like spoiling them or giving anything away. So I promise that I will work on getting more organized, and in the future, hopefully my videos will be better. Then we have Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. Wow. This book was beautiful. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It's super hard for me to rate a book 5 stars. I've never cried from a book before. Now, this book didn't make me cry, but my eyes filled with tears multiple times. They never fell, but I was almost there. This book was just beautifully written. It was a beautiful story. I didn't think I was going to like it at all. I did not want to pick it up. I held off on buying it for so long. And then finally I caved because everybody and their mom loves it, I swear. And now sorry, a car drove by and it was loud. And I just found out that my camera, I bought an external mic for it. It's like $60 and I can't even use it. So I'm gonna figure out how I can return that. So it's single mother and sort of forbidden romance trope. I like it. I love dual point of views. This book was dual point of view and just wow. So yeah, this book is basically about Kenna, who has to go to jail for 5 years after some tragedy happens. And she's released. She returns back to her small hometown, which is also where the tragedy took place. And she wants to re-enter her daughter's life. But everybody in her daughter's life is trying to keep Kenna away because of the mistake that happened 5 years ago. So basically the whole book is about her trying to come back into this small town. Everybody hates her. Everybody wants her gone. And she's trying to get her way back into her daughter's life. The only person, though, that does not completely kick her to the curb is Ledger, who is also a big part of her daughter's life. So it's kind of just a big story about that and them. And it's not a love story, but it is a love story in like so many different ways. It's just beautiful. Highly recommend. Out of all the Colleen Hoover books I've read, this one so far is my number one. I'm thinking I accidentally put these books in wrong. The next book we have is The Honeymooners by Christina Lauren, which, let's just clear it up for everybody who does not know, Christina and Lauren, they are 2 separate authors. That really confused me for a while. It still kind of does, just because it's like Christina Lauren. It's not Christina and Lauren or anything. But this book was really good. It's kind of confusing because I give it a 4 stars. It's a 4-star read, but like now I kind of knock it. This is my first video that I'm ever filming with a camera and not my phone, which is so exciting, but it's also really scary because I don't know how the audio is. I don't even know if this is getting everything. Sounds like there's somebody in my backyard. They all get super sick, they get food poisoning, and Olivia doesn't. Oh my god, I've been saying Olivia. See, her name's literally Olive. So if that doesn't kind of show you how memorable it is. Anyway, so she doesn't get food poisoning, and neither does her like arch nemesis, Ethan, which is also the best man of the wedding. So basically the maid of honor, the best woman, and the best man, they both don't get food poisoning, but everybody else does. Now the honeymoon is up for grabs, and Olive's twin sister forces her to go, and Ethan's brother forces Ethan to go. So now Ethan and Olive are on this honeymoon vacation to Hawaii, and they both hate each other, and they end up having to fake date. So it's like fake dating, enemies to lover, that type of book. So just a really good read. Definitely recommend reading in the summer because you cannot go wrong with Hawaii. And then I started a series. This is going to be the first series that I have ever read, other than like when I was younger, back in the day. So this is part of the off-campus series. There are 5 books, I believe, and yeah, this is the first one. So it's called The Deal, and it's basically about Hannah, who is this super smart student, and Garrett, who his GPA is just, it's trash, and he plays hockey. And basically Garrett is like trying to convince Hannah to tutor him, and she's like does not want to tutor him, and then they end up having a steamy night together, and he realizes that he needs to convince her that he's the type of guy that she needs in her life. And she's like, I don't want a hockey player, like I don't want you. And it's a really good book. It was really good. So, yeah, I give it a 4 stars. There's a lot in it. It's really hard to explain, but it's just your good old college, good girl, bad guy book. In 5 Years by Rebecca Searle. So many things that I could say about this book. Now, the whole reason that I bought it, I've only ever heard one girl talk about it, and I can't remember her name, but it was one of her 5-star reads. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I need a 5-star read, so I bought it. If you ever buy this book, do not read the back. Read it blind. I've never read a book blind, but if I could go back and do it with this one, I would. The synopsis is just the most misleading thing I've ever read in my life. The back, what it says on the back takes place in 1 chapter, and then the rest of the book, I mean, it's about that chapter, but like when you read the back, you thought the whole book was going to be like that, and it's not. It's literally 1 chapter. I felt like this book was more about Danny, the main character, and her best friend than it was a love story. So yeah, it was just really, really misleading. I definitely gave it like a 3 out of 5, only because it was a good book. It's just, it needed a totally different synopsis. And if it had the synopsis it deserved, I probably wouldn't have picked it up, to be honest. So I really can't, I don't know how that girl gave it 5 stars. I don't. The Roughest Draft by Emily Wilberly and Austin Sigmund Roca. 5 stars. Obsessed. Obsessed with this book. Like, it was so good. It was another dual point of view, forced proximity, enemies to lovers. So good. I am absolutely obsessed with Katrina and Nathan, the 2 main characters. Basically this book is about 3 years ago, Katrina and Nathan co-wrote a book together, and it was a huge success, huge hit, but something happened and their partnership ended. Katrina never wrote again. Nathan wrote another couple books, but they didn't do well at all. They had a contract that they needed to finish, so they ended up writing one last book together. Of course, you know, it's them in a house in Florida writing one book together, a romance book nonetheless with steamy chapters, and it's just so good. Like, they have to, because you're figuring out what happened 3 years ago, they're working through it, things are happening, you're seeing into the future, but then it's also like they're using their writing to confess feelings and whatnot, which I absolutely just loved. I loved it. Like, they were using characters as themselves, and it was just super, super good book. Definitely recommend. I don't understand how anybody could not like it. I don't. After that, I read the second book in the Off-Campus series, The Mistake by Elle Kennedy, and this book was super, super good too. I gave it another 4 stars. I did like the first book a bit better just because Garrett and Hannah, I feel like, I don't know if anything can top them. They were great and awesome, but I know this is a series so it makes sense, but I love that in this book you saw Garrett and Hannah. Like, it's not like they were just gone all of a sudden. You got to continue kind of seeing what happened between Garrett and Hannah. Not in depth or anything, it was just like passing moments, but I liked that a lot. And I liked that it's also, you know, still dual point of view. And this one is about Logan, who you also meet in the first book, and Grace. And basically Logan is just this hockey player who likes to sleep around and party and not get good grades, but then he runs into this freshman, Grace, and he ends up making a mistake. So you read about what the mistake is, and then you're reading about him trying to fix the mistake and them, you know, growing through it, blah, 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 whatnot like that. Basically, Grace decides she's going to make him work to fix the mistake. She's going to make him pay. So, yeah, good book, 4 stars. Maybe 3.75, 3.5, only because I don't honestly remember the ending or what happened too much. After that, I read The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides? Alex. Super good. I have heard about this book for like the past year. I've heard so many good things. I'm so mad that I didn't buy it sooner. I gave this book 4 stars out of 5, maybe 4.25, because it was a really good book. My word choice is terrible. Like, you would think after reading all these books I could think of better words than so good. Love it. Exciting. Awesome. I'll work on it, okay? I'll work on it. But this book is about Alicia, who her life seems perfect. She's in a happy marriage, and then all of a sudden she kills her husband. She kills him, and then she never says another word ever again. Until criminal psychotherapist Theo is super captivated by the story and what happened and everything like that. So he decides to try to work with her because she's at a psych ward. And so he gets a job there, and he ends up working with her. She ends up, you know, yeah. It's just like the plot twist. I feel like there was multiple plot twists, but there was just like one huge one. And I can't recommend this book enough either. It's super good, a really good thriller. It was a crazy page turner. I think I stayed up until like 1 a.m. finishing this book. I just couldn't stop. I feel like I said something else about it. I can't remember. Yeah, suspenseful, page turner. Loved it. And then I read the first 2 books in the trilogy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So good. So marvelous. We're working on my vocab. Yeah, so the Inheritance Games, and then the Hawthorne Legacy, and the 3rd book comes out at the end of August, and I think it's called The Final Gambit. I'm like 99% sure. But this book is about Avery, who's just your normal girl living her life, and then all of a sudden she is getting tracked down by the super hot guy to go to a will reading of billionaire Tobias Hawthorne. She goes thinking, okay, this is really weird, but okay, my camera shut off again. So weird, I don't know why it's doing that. But one of them thinks that she is just a con woman who somehow manipulated Tobias into leaving her everything. And then the other grandson thinks that their grandfather left her to them on purpose as like his last puzzle, his last riddle. So she's in danger. People are trying to like kill her to get this money, and she's also like falling in love or whatnot, and it's just a super good book. It really was another page turner, and I finished it in 24 hours. The next day I went and bought this one, which I'm obviously not going to tell you what it's about because it will spoil the first book for you. But I went and bought this the next day. I started it at like 12 and I finished it by like 7 o'clock that night. It was so good. Wow. August could not come any sooner. Okay, so the last book I read was Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. This book is big. She's thick. Like, she was 550 something pages. So, yeah, this one I finished in a couple days. It 3 stars. I mean, I don't understand why it's 550 something pages. It could have been written in, honestly, it could have been written in like 200 and something. It didn't need to be this big. I felt like because it was this big, it just was like going on and on and on. And I didn't feel like there was like that much of a plot to the story. I mean, it was good. Like, that's why I give it 3 stars, because it was good. But even right now, I was like, wait, what's the book about again? And I kind of had to read the back to remember, which is sad because it's literally, I just finished this like 4 days ago and it's huge. You'd think I would remember, but I don't. So yeah, 3 stars. It was a good read. It just, for this big, it didn't need to be this big at all. I am still confused about that. So I feel like I've heard a lot of mixed reviews. People either love it or they hate it, and totally get it, but I don't see how anybody could love it. I don't. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching my June monthly reading wrap-up video. I read lots of fantastic books. Seriously, it was like a really, really good month. It was just amazing. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're excited for all of the awesome videos I'm gonna make. Subscribe if you want to see more, like it if you liked it, and comment down any videos you want to see below. Thank you guys. Bye.